Discovered, the incredible bond between a soldier and his dog reveals a life-changing truth. Mike Thompson stood at the edge of the dog park, the autumn leaves swirling around him like the chaos in his mind. He was a soldier, once proud and strong, now feeling like a ghost haunting his old life. The good people of his small Ohio town whispered behind his back, casting skeptical glances whenever he passed by. He felt their judgment settle on him like a heavy cloak. War had changed him, and the struggle was no longer just about survival, it was about finding his place in a world that felt alien. Buddy, his scruffy rescue dog, bounded toward a group of playful pups with an exuberance Mike could only dream of. As he watched Buddy leap and twirl in the air, chasing after sticks and sniffing noses, a flicker of warmth ignited in his chest. In that moment, Buddy was everything, a reminder of the simple joys that life could still hold. Mike felt the corners of his lips curl into a weak smile, but it quickly faded as the weight of his responsibilities crashed back in. His elderly mother needed care, and his spirited daughter Lily needed him to be present, yet he was often absent, drowning in a sea of multiple jobs. His days were a relentless grind. He hustled from one job to another, barely keeping afloat in the declining economy. Birthdays passed, school plays ended with empty seats where he should be sat, and bedtime stories faded into memories he couldn't create. Each night, he came home to an echoing silence where laughter once filled their little home, there now loomed only confusion and tension. Guilt gnawed at him like hungry wolves, and the once vibrant bond with his family felt like threads fraying at the edges. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. One fateful afternoon, while watching Buddy chase a ball, his gaze fell upon a group of fellow veterans gathered on a nearby bench. Their faces were etched with stories of pain and survival that mirrored his own. Intrigued, he drew closer, the camaraderie wrapping around him like a warm blanket. They spoke of healing through shared experiences, and for the first time, he felt a glimmer of hope. Could he find solace in this bond? Inspired, Mike began to dream a community initiative to pair shelter dogs with veterans in need of healing, yet, not everyone was warm to his idea. Whispers flew through the tight-knit town like wildfire, questioning the worth of his mission. Financial hardships loomed like dark clouds, threatening to shatter his new venture before it began. Undeterred, Mike poured his heart into organizing a neighborhood fundraiser. Nervous trembles coursed through him as he prepared to address the community that had silently scrutinized him for so long. As the day approached, anticipation tinged the air. As he stood before the crowd, facing the familiar face from his past, every nerve tightened. A storm of anxieties churned within him. Would they see the value in his mission? Would they understand? With each heartbeat echoing in his ears, he pondered if he had the strength to forge a new identity not just for himself, but for his family. Could compassion and connection lead to redemption? With Buddy by his side, Mike stood on the precipice, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the park as Mike surveyed the gathered crowd. Some came out of curiosity, others with skepticism carved deeply into their brows. The very air was weighted, a mix of tensions and whispered doubts swirling around him. He cleared his throat, feeling as though the weight of the world rested on his shoulders. "Thank you all for being here," he said, forcing his voice not to shake. He glanced at Buddy, who sat comfortably by his side, tail thumping against the ground. The dog seemed to share in his resolve, and Mike drew strength from that unwavering loyalty. "I know many of you might not understand why I'm standing here today. I get it. I'm just a guy who came back from war, carrying my scars and my burdens. But I've learned something profound these past few months." He paused, eyes scanning the crowd, searching for acceptance. Just as we fought for each other on the battlefield, we can bring hope and healing to each other here at home. There was a flicker of something, a shift in the crowd. Barely perceptible, but enough to notice. Someone in the back shifted their weight, a child giggled, and even the sun seemed to shine a little brighter. Mike continued, his words gaining momentum. I want to create a bond between veterans and dogs in shelters. You see, these dogs need homes, love, and a second chance. And we veterans need companionship, understanding, and a purpose. It can be an incredible alliance that changes our lives. As he spoke, memories of his own time in service swirled in his mind, painted with the warmth of friendship and camaraderie. Each word felt like a thread woven into a new tapestry of connection. The silence deepened around him, indicating rapt attention, and for a brief moment, Mike felt hope flicker in his chest. But then, a voice pierced through the air from the back of the crowd. Why should we trust you? A soldier who couldn't even make a life for himself? The accusation stung. Mike's heart sank, the breath caught in his throat. He wanted to defend himself, to scream that he was trying, that he was fighting for something as pure as love for his family, love for Buddy, and love for those who came back home, lost and broken. Instead, he took a breath, steadying himself. I understand your concerns, he replied, his voice firmer now. I've felt like I was drowning, and I've lost hope more times than I can count. But finding Buddy changed something in me. It reminded me that love and duty extend beyond combat. It can be found in moments like these. Give me a chance to show you. He glanced down, noticing Buddy nuzzling closer to his leg, sensing his distress. The dog looked up at him with trusting brown eyes, a reflection of resilience and loyalty. Suddenly, someone stepped forward from the crowd, an elderly man Mike recognized as Mr. Jensen, a local fixture who had seen his own share of hardship. The man's voice was shaky but filled with sincerity. I lost my dog last year. I didn't think I could go on, but I didn't know where to turn. The murmurs shifted, thoughts swirling, and one by one, the crowd began to nod, understanding beginning to break through the initial skepticism. Mike's heart raced as he felt a flicker of support grow. As the gathering buzzed with tentative curiosity, Mike felt a spark of possibility ignite. But that spark also brought forth an equally pressing question: would enough of them really join him in this mission to transform lives? With Buddy at his side and determination coursing through him, he took a step closer to the crowd, ready to unveil the plans he'd brewed in hope. Yet, as he looked into the faces surrounding him, doubt crept in on silent feet. Was his mission enough to heal the hurt within himself, let alone reach others? With the weight of that question throbbing in his chest, Mike stood resolute, prepared to fight for a new future, but deeply aware that the hardest battles often lie within. What would it take for the whole town to latch onto his vision, as the first faces in the crowd began to show signs of support? Mike realized he was at a crucial juncture, a crossroad where trust could either blossom or shatter. And with the anticipation tight in the air, he sent a silent prayer for the strength to carry forth this mission, hoping it would bring healing where it was so desperately needed. Would he find that healing not just for others but for himself, too? As the murmurs of support continued to ripple through the crowd, Mike felt a surge of courage intertwining with his lingering fear. The side glances of skepticism began to fade, replaced with emotions he couldn't quite decipher. Was it hope? Curiosity? Or were they just humoring a soldier worrying about his future? Mr. Jensen, he said, feeling emboldened by the old man's openness, your story resonates with many, I'm sure. Losing a dog isn't just losing a pet, it's losing a piece of your heart. A few heads nodded, and Mike could see some people leaning in as if they were hanging on every word. He straightened his back, digging deeper into the reservoir of resolve. Imagine, he continued, these dogs sitting in shelters, longing for someone to love them, the same way the veterans long for connection. When we take them in, we aren't just giving them a home, we're regaining purpose. A woman stood up, young and spirited with fiery determination in her eyes. How do we know you can even help us? You've had your struggles, she challenged, but it was a gentler instinct now, just probing. Mike opened his mouth, feeling the weight of unspoken truths hovering. "All I can do is share my journey," he said, allowing vulnerability to bleed in. "When I came home, I wasn't the same. I felt lost. I carried guilt, memories I couldn't shake. But Buddy, he reminded me what it's like to love and be loved. He pulled me out of the darkness." Buddy lifted his head and woofed softly, as if he sensed the emotional current shifting in the air. Laughter broke out momentarily, a welcome relief, painting smiles on faces that had been tight with doubt. "Maybe this connection is what we all need," Mike ventured, shifting his focus to the rest of the audience. "Veterans like me, and dogs like Buddy. We can build something beautiful here. A rescue and support program. Together." An older woman wiped a tear from her eye. "My son served, and when he came back, he was so different. It hurt to see him struggle. Maybe a dog would help him?" A wave of sympathy cascaded through Mike as the crowd shifted yet again, small glimmers of hope starting to coalesce. "That's it," he exclaimed. "Let us give these dogs a chance while helping each other heal. We could run programs, training sessions, events, foster homes. All of us can come together." The crowd burst into fervent conversation, voices overlapping as ideas sparked. It was electric, like a wildfire igniting, transforming doubt into potential, but then, a shattering thought pierced through the excitement: what if it didn't work? What if he couldn't rally enough support? The fear gripped him, an icy claw around his heart. To pour his soul into something, only to have it fall apart, would it hurt more than what had come before? Mike shook his head, casting those thoughts aside. "Let us start small. We can meet every week, right here. If you care about these dogs or know someone who does, come join us. We can be the voices for those who can't speak." People began to talk amongst themselves, smiles spreading and hearts beginning to open. Hope was building, but uncertainty gnawed at Mike. "Please," he added, his voice lowering in intensity. "If there's even a glimpse of belief, take a chance on this. I'm just one man, but together, we could be a force. For the dogs. For ourselves. For the community." Just as he finished, the shadow of an unknown fear lingered. Could he truly harness this spark into an ignited flame of change? The crowd was slowly warming up, but would they sustain momentum? Mike watched as individuals clustered together, exchanging numbers, sharing stories. And amidst that blossoming unity, he heard one lingering question in the back of his mind: was this the first hard step toward healing, or merely a beautiful illusion waiting to splinter? With optimism racing in his veins, he waited, watching as the future began to unfold. But that initial doubt still clung tightly. What if he couldn't hold this fragile bond together? As the winds of change stirred around them, he stood on the precipice of possibility, wondering just how deep this journey would take him and whether he was truly ready for what lay ahead. The following week, the air buzzed with anticipation. Mike arrived at the community center earlier than usual, pacing the empty room. The sun filtered through the large windows, casting vibrant patterns on the worn wooden floor. Each beam of light felt like a whisper of encouragement. His heart raced as he set up a circle of chairs, each one representing a potential new connection. Would they come? Would they care? The fear gnawed at him incessantly, but he shook it off. Buddy, his ever-faithful companion, wagged his tail, oblivious to Mike's worries. "You always know how to lighten the mood, don't you, Buddy?" Mike chuckled softly, squatting down to scratch the dog's head. As the clock ticked closer to the start time, a trickle of people began to filter in. First, an older man, wearing a faded veteran's cap, stepped through the door. "You're Mike, right?" he asked, a warm smile breaking across his face. "Yeah. Glad you could make it," Mike replied, introducing him to Buddy, who greeted him with excited jumps and fierce licks. One by one, others filtered in, the spirited woman from last week, a few families, and even more veterans. Their faces displayed varying levels of hope, curiosity, and skepticism. Mike's heart swelled as he counted them 15 in all. A solid start. "Welcome, everyone," he began, his voice steadier than the tumult inside him. "Thank you for being here. Today, I want to share how bringing a dog into our lives can heal us in ways we might not even realize." The conversations paused. He could see them leaning in, genuinely interested. Mike shared the details of his life after returning from service, the isolation, the battle with his own mind, and the unconditional love that Buddy had offered. He bore his soul, revealing how dogs had a way of breaking down emotional barriers, fostering connections that mattered. When he finished, the room felt charged. Heads bobbed in agreement, and hands shot up, eager to share personal experiences. Voices echoed, filled with laughter, sorrow, and understanding. It was as if a dam had burst, and the outpouring of emotion was both liberating and exhilarating. A young man stood up, tears glistening in his eyes. "I lost my dog last year," he began, his voice shaky. "I was in such a dark place afterward. I had no idea how much he meant to me until he was gone. Maybe I should have considered fostering another one. I'm ready to try again." The crowd erupted in support, voices bolstering him with words of encouragement. Mike watched in awe, knowing they had all taken a monumental step together. They discussed fostering, organizing training sessions, even setting up a local sanctuary. Each idea built on the last, growing from whispers of doubt into bold declarations of hope. But amidst this blossoming community, Mike felt a familiar tug of anxiety. What if this didn't last? As they formulated plans, what if they couldn't keep the momentum going? Would it all crumble like so many things before? The energy around him was electric, eyes sparkling with determination and compassion. In that moment, Mike realized he couldn't take on this journey alone. He needed their strength as much as they needed his. "Let's set a goal," he proposed, his voice firm. "By the end of the month, I want to see our group support at least 3 dogs in need, foster homes, training assistants, whatever it takes. Are you with me?" A chorus of affirmatives echoed through the room. It filled him with a warmth he hadn't thought possible, but as the meeting wound down, another question clawed at him: was he ready for the responsibility? What if he let them down? As the gathering broke and plans were made for a follow-up meeting, Mike glanced at Buddy, who was nestled against his leg, unwavering in his support. Could a simple rescue dog like him be the key to unlocking this newfound hope? With the evening sun dipping low, he felt a spark of determination blend with lingering uncertainty. The path ahead was still clouded, but perhaps in this shared journey, there was something even greater waiting to be discovered. What would they uncover together? And could their bond hold firm against the challenges ahead? The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity. Mike hardly had time to breathe, but he loved it. Each new connection felt like threads weaving into a tapestry of hope. Meetings were scheduled, flyers were printed, and discussions about fostering began to resonate not just in the community center, but across neighborhoods. Dogs were finding homes and the group was growing as friends brought in their own friends. One afternoon, while Mike sorted through a pile of paperwork, he received a call that made his heart leap. It was Sarah, one of the attendees who had shared her journey about adopting her rescue dog. "Mike, I just heard about a litter of puppies that need fostering. They're only a few weeks old. Can we take them in?" Her excitement was infectious. "Absolutely. Let me call everyone to spread the word." In that moment, Mike felt a surge of adrenaline. The adrenaline coursed through him like a shot of caffeine. This was it. This was the chance to turn their ideas into action. As the scheduled day approached, Mike found himself swamped with a mix of excitement and nerves. He spent hours preparing his small apartment, transforming it into a safe haven for the little pups. Boxes filled with blankets, toys, and drool-proof bowls lined his living room. Buddy trotted around, sniffing everything with curiosity, as if he understood that they were about to welcome more furry friends into their lives. when the day arrived, the living room was buzzing with life. Mike opened the door to reveal Sarah, arms overflowing with wriggling, barking bundles of joy. The sight made his heart swell. Each puppy looked like a tiny light of hope, and as Mike took them into his arms, he felt the warmth of connection radiate through him. "Look at them. Can you believe this?" Sarah grinned, her eyes sparkling with joy. The other group members soon joined, filling the room with chatter and laughter. As each person took turns cuddling and playing with the puppies, the air seemed thick with happiness. Everyone was united in this mission, to love and care for these little lives that needed them, but as the day wore on, Mike couldn't shake the feeling of looming responsibility. What if they didn't find homes for all these pups? What if something went wrong? He caught Buddy watching the lively scene, and the calmness in Buddy's eyes reminded him of the most important lesson he had learned: they were not alone in this journey. They had each other, bound by the same desire to make a difference. As evening approached, laughter began to fade into soft conversations. The puppies were snuggled in a pile, a tangle of fur and dreams. Mike stood by the window, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. It cut through the calm like a bolt of lightning. Mike's heart raced. Who could that be? He opened the door to see a familiar face, an old friend from his service days. "Mike? I heard about this space and thought I'd check it out." The surprise in his friend's eyes morphed into intrigue as he glanced at the joyful chaos behind Mike. Come in," Mike said, waving him in with a welcoming smile. What happened next would change everything. As his friend stepped inside, he locked eyes with a little puppy who immediately wobbled over, tail wagging frantically. The warmth in the room grew, but would this reunion spark something even larger than their memories of the past? Mike felt a sense of anticipation as they all settled in, a new thread intertwining within their budding community. What would this unexpected visit mean for their mission? And could it lead to connections that stretched beyond their circle? As Mike stepped aside, letting his friend in, he felt an unfamiliar weight in the atmosphere. It was more than just a sudden reunion, it was the unmistakable hint of destiny. Buddy, sensing the shift, wagged his tail with renewed vigor, drawing the attention of the group. "Derek!" Mike exclaimed, throwing an arm around his old friend, the one who had been there in countless moments of chaos, laughter, and uncertainty. Derek's warm smile brought back a flood of memories: late-night talks under the stars, shared missions, and unspoken bonds forged in the crucible of service. The room pulsed with energy as Derek's gaze fell on the puppies. "You've really turned this place into a sanctuary," he said, wide-eyed. "This is incredible, Mike." "Thanks. We're all pitching in. It feels good to help, you know." Mike gestured to the playful pups, their tiny barks echoing around the room. Derek knelt down, and as if it were a script written just for this moment, a little golden puff raced toward him. The puppy bounced excitedly, tugging at Derek's sleeve with its tiny teeth. Laughter erupted, pulling everyone closer. Mike watched as Derek's stoic demeanor softened, laughter breaking across his face. "Well, aren't you a little ball of energy?" He chuckled, eyes glistening. As the night carried on, stories flowed freely with each tale and each laugh, the bond among them strengthened. Mike couldn't help but feel that the reunion of friends was adding a level of depth to their mission. Yet, an uneasy thought flickered in the back of his mind. What if Derek's arrival didn't just rekindle old times? What if it brought about change they weren't ready for? "Have you thought about fostering one of these little guys?" Sarah asked Derek, her voice filled with friendly encouragement, nudging him gently. Derek hesitated, the laughter dimming slightly. I'm not sure I'm in that place right now," he admitted, glancing at the wriggling puppies as if they were the embodiment of the joy he longed to feel but was scared to embrace. "I've been through a lot since, well, you know." "Hey," Mike said, his hand resting on Derek's shoulder. "We all understand struggle. But here, you're not alone. It's about healing and feeling whole again, right? Yeah, it is. Derek looked down, his eyes captured by the golden puppy, who had settled into his lap, snoring softly. The room fell silent for a moment as something shifted. A shared understanding lingered between them, woven from the threads of their experiences, the unspoken truth of pain, companionship, and the power of new beginnings. Mike felt his heart race, the emotion in the room was palpable. But what would this moment mean for Derek? Would he take a leap of faith and let love back in through the doorway of their shared passion for helping dogs find homes? As the night wore on, the laughter returned, warmed by the closeness they all felt. Yet the unspoken question hung heavy in the air: what path would Derek choose? Just then, a soft whimper surprised everyone. A shy little puppy stumbled forward, pawing at Derek's side, almost as if it sensed his inner turmoil. Their eyes met, and Mike held his breath, wondering whether this small moment could lead to something transformative. Would Derek embrace this chance to heal? And if he did, how would it reshape their mission? The answer felt just out of reach, and anticipation sparked like electricity. As Mike looked around, he realized they had crossed one bridge together. But what came next could change everything again. Could the bond between a soldier and a pup lead them all towards something greater than they'd ever imagined? With the quiet whimper still hanging in the air, Derek blinked, caught off guard by the small puppy's gentle insistence. It was almost as if the little creature understood the weight of his struggle, reaching out for him in a way nothing else had recently. The room had grown hushed, and every gaze was fixed on him, fueling a wave of unease. "Dear?" Mike gently prodded, his voice laced with both anticipation and concern. "What are you thinking?" Derek felt the puppy nuzzle against him and let out a soft sigh. The warmth of its tiny body radiated through his jeans, and he instinctively moved his hand to stroke its fur. There was something about this moment that felt right, yet he was tangled in his own doubts. "I don't know, guys," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Can I really do this? Am I ready?" "Hey," Sarah chimed in, joining them on the floor. She reached out, scratching the puppy's chin, drawing its attention. "The thing about fostering is that it doesn't have to be forever. Just a little love and support when they need it most. Just like us, right?" Derek's heart lurched at her words. They rang with the truth of his own experiences. He'd always been the one to lend a hand, to catch someone when they fell. But when it came to facing his own challenges, the walls felt insurmountable. The puppy looked up at him with wide, trusting eyes, and he felt a rush of warmth flood through him. These little creatures had been through so much already. Abandoned, scared, yet they fought back and bounced back to life. Could he learn to do that too? "I just don't want to mess it up," he confessed, his voice trembling. "You won, T. You've got a whole team right here to help you." Mike's encouraging smile was infectious, piercing through Derek's guarded heart. "You won't be alone in this." The golden puppy wiggled, demanding more attention. Derek chuckled softly despite himself and couldn't fight the urge to pet it again. Hope flickered in his chest. He could take one step. One small act to embrace this little life. "Okay," he breathed, gathering up the courage he didn't know he possessed. "Maybe I can try. Just to see how it feels." In that moment, something in the room shifted again, the air thickened with possibility and promise. Laughter bubbled back as they celebrated his decision and began brainstorming names for the little pup. But in the middle of the playful chaos, Derek felt a deep, familiar pulse of nervousness. What if the sadness he had felt for so long crept back in? What if opening his heart meant risking it all again? As the night progressed, Buddy joined in on the fun, dragging toys from around the room to present to the new member of their unconventional family. They played and laughed, allowing moments of healing to seep in slowly. But as much as this felt like a breakthrough, Derek couldn't shake a creeping dread forming in his gut. He glanced at the little golden puppy rolling over with a squeaky toy, blissfully unaware of the heaviness surrounding him. It felt as if the universe was pressing him to confront something deeper, a truth he needed to face, not just about fostering but about himself. what was it going to take for him to not just survive but thrive? Would this tiny ball of fur help him uncover strengths he didn't know existed within him? Derek felt his heart racing once more as he wondered where this path would lead him. But one question held tight to him: was he truly ready to uncover all that awaited him? The answer loomed on the horizon, teasing him like the setting sun preparing a brand new day, one that could change everything. Derek's heart beat steadily as the night wore on, thick with laughter and playful barks. But beneath the surface, shadows of doubt simmered. The puppy was small, innocent, and needy, yet its very presence stirred up something within him that felt heavy and daunting. He watched as Sarah tossed a toy, encouraging Buddy to chase it. The golden fur ball leaped in sheer excitement, boundless energy shining through its bright eyes. "Look at him go!" Sarah laughed, a warmth in her voice that mingled with the crackling energy in the room. Derek felt a twinge of longing, wondering if he too could capture such simple joy. Each wag of the puppy's tail was symbolic of a small victory, something he hadn't felt in a long time. As the evening buzzed with chatter, Derek found himself retreating to a corner, still keeping Buddy in view. He wanted to absorb the laughter, the joy that radiated from his friends, but the weight of his own emotions felt suffocating. Everyone around him seemed to embrace the moment, while he wavered on the edges, wrestling with his own insecurities. "Hey, man. You good?" Mike's voice broke through the noise, grounding Derek. "Yeah, just thinking," he replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "About what?" Mike probed, eyes searching Derek's. Taking a deep breath, Derek struggled for the words. "About the past. About whether I can handle everything. You know? It's easier to help others than to look after myself." Mike's expression shifted to one of understanding. "You've carried a lot on your shoulders, bro. But you've got people here who care. This puppy needs you, but so do you. It's a two-way street." Derek considered that. Could focusing on this little creature pave a path to reclaiming his own life? With every joyful bark and playful nudge, he felt the fear within him begin to unravel. He had spent too long hiding from his problems, afraid to break open and let them out. But here and now, something was shifting. "All right, Buddy. Let us see what you got," Derek muttered to himself, pushing off the wall and standing up. He took a tentative step toward the others, where laughter bubbled up again, brighter than before. Just as he joined in, an unexpected loud crash shook the room. The puppy barked in surprise, and everyone froze for a moment. Desks squeaked, and Mike's expression switched from happiness to concern. "Did anyone get hurt?" Sarah asked, anxiety rising in her voice. Derek's pulse quickened as he scanned the room, heart racing. What just happened? He wondered, the brief moment of panic drawing him to the edge of something deeper. Then, as if in slow motion, he spotted an overturned lamp, shattered glass glistening on the floor, the culprit an assortment of toys that had tumbled during their play. As they shared tentative looks, Derek felt something shift within him once more. No one was hurt, but the chaos had caused a carelessness that triggered echoes of his past. He couldn't shake the feeling. Memories flickered at the edges of his mind, darker and more intense. They yearned to break through the surface, threatening to drown out the joy of the night. Feeling the weight of it all returning, he gripped the edge of a nearby table, bracing himself against the swell of familiar turmoil. "Guess we should clean up," Mike suggested, moving forward with caution, breaking the stillness in the room. But as Derek bent down to sift through the remnants of their fun, he lifted a piece of glass, and felt the sharpness cut deep into his palm. It was a mere prick, but suddenly, tears brimmed in his eyes, not from pain, but from the stark realization of everything brewing beneath. Was he strong enough to face his fears? Was this puppy going to help him heal, or was it going to amplify all that he had tried to bury? The golden puppy scurried over, nuzzling against his side, grounding him in that moment yet again. Suddenly, Derek felt a spark of resolve ignite within him. Could this tiny creature guide him toward the truth he needed to face? Would he dare to embrace all that came next? As the voices around him faded, He looked down at Buddy, whose bright eyes reflected unwavering trust. He needed answers. What truth awaited him just beyond the surface? Derek's mind raced as he stared at Buddy, the warm, golden fur pressing against him. That small creature radiated a strength he desperately needed. Each little rise and fall of Buddy's chest, every soft pant, spoke of innocence and unwavering loyalty. It was strange how just being near the puppy made the chaos feel less daunting. "Dude, are you okay?" Mike's voice broke through Derek's spiral of thoughts once more. He looked up to see concern etched on his friend's face. "Yeah, I just need a minute," Derek managed to say, biting down on the emotion swelling in his throat. The wound on his palm throbbed, a reminder of both the chaos around him and the deeper chaos within. Sarah knelt beside him, her concerned gaze scanning his face. "Seriously, Derek, don't just brush it off. Do you want some water or?" "No, I'm fine," he replied sharply before softening at the worried frown she wore. "I mean, I'm okay. Just little cuts don't hurt nearly as much as old wounds, right?" There was an uneasy silence as Sarah and Mike exchanged glances. It was clear they wanted to say more, something that might help him. But what could they say? The truth Derek was struggling to face was buried under layers of guilt and shame. "I'll clean this up," Derek said, trying to regain control. As he picked up the pieces of shattered glass carefully, he felt Buddy press against his side, the pup's unyielding trust pulling at something deep inside him. The laughter and chatting from earlier faded away, leaving just the sound of Buddy's soft whines and the scrape of glass against wood. In the stillness, the memories hit him like heavy waves crashing against a shore. His time in the army, those memories could drown him if he let them. Flashbacks of orders barked during training, the weight of duty crushing his chest, the unfamiliar quietness after the gunfire stopped. The moments where he didn't save the ones who needed him most, they haunted him, shadows that twisted the joy he felt when he was finally home, but Buddy remained there, anchoring him to the present. The little dog was oblivious to the battles Derek faced inside, but was somehow the very support he didn't know he needed. "I can't keep running from it," Derek whispered to himself. "I have to face it." The words made him tremble as he said them out loud. Suddenly, Buddy jumped up and put his paws on Derek's knee, looking up with those bright, trusting eyes. It was as if the puppy sensed Derek's turmoil, urging him to move forward, to be brave. Okay, Derek sighed, ruffling Buddy's fur. "We'll figure this out together, right?" The pup responded with an enthusiastic bark, and the sound filled the room, a note of hope in the air. Just then, Sarah chuckled, breaking the tension. "Well, at least someone's excited to take on the world, huh?" Derek looked up and smiled through the remnants of his pain. Maybe he wouldn't have to face it alone after all. The journey ahead would be tough, but with Buddy by his side, there was a flicker of possibility, a chance at healing. "All right, let's clean up and get back to having some fun," Derek said, standing straight. Together with Mike and Sarah, they swept up the glass and pushed the furniture back in order. But as Derek glanced down at his hand, still prickling with pain, he realized that this was just the beginning. There were deeper cuts to mend, wounds hidden beneath the surface. If Buddy was going to be his friend, he had to step into his own truth. No more hiding behind distractions, no more pretending. As the cleanup wrapped up and laughter returned to the room, an unexpected knock on the door echoed through the night. The sound pulled Derek's attention sharply. Who could be visiting at this hour? And what had their arrival stirred within him? Right when he was starting to find his footing, his heart quickened once again. What now? As Mike opened the door, he found himself face to face with a woman he recognized, Kara, one of the local reporters. Her demeanor exuded a warmth that immediately eased the tension in the room. "I heard about what you're doing here," she said, her eyes sparkling with genuine interest. "Can I come in and talk to you guys?" "Absolutely," Mike responded, ushering her inside. As she stepped in, so did a fresh wave of nervous energy, but this time it felt different, invigorating. Derek felt an electric pulse of anticipation dart through him. With every new encounter, the threads of purpose began to weave tighter around them. "Can I pet that little guy?" Kara asked, eyeing the golden puppy nestled in Derek's arms. He hesitated only a moment, then nodded, seeing how the fluffy creature bounded toward her, tail a blur of excitement. As she knelt down, the atmosphere shifted. Laughter bubbled back up, blending with the lighter conversation sparked by Kara's arrival. Derek felt himself relaxing. This felt like a small victory, a crack in the veil of uncertainty suffocating him. "What you have here is really special," Kara said, looking around at the group. "I'd love to share your story. How these bonds between dogs and veterans can be transformative. You have passion, and I think this community needs to hear it." A wave of enthusiasm washed over the room as the others chimed in, excitedly sharing their thoughts. Each story, each struggle and triumph, radiated hope, and Derek felt the weight of his own burdens lightening. He leaned closer, encouraged by the atmosphere, inspired by the unity unfolding. "This is what I've been missing," he thought. Connection real and raw. The way Buddy had nuzzled into him during his darkest moment seemed to resonate deeply with everyone around. It was a shared understanding. These weren't just dogs. They represented healing, companionship, and new beginnings. Suddenly, the door creaked open again, this time revealing not just a friend but a whole lineup of excited faces. The community had arrived, people from all walks of life, brought together by a singular vision born from the interactions in that very room. They had decided to join Mike, Derek, and Sarah in their mission. Within that moment, hope swelled in Derek's chest as he glanced around. They were here to connect not just with the dogs, but with each other. "Let us do this together," he shouted, and the room erupted with cheering. Everyone was ready to lend their talents, whether it was fostering, training, or sharing in the nurturing of their newfound purpose. As conversations danced in the air, Derek's heart brimmed with an unfamiliar joy. They were building something so much bigger than themselves. This wasn't just a mission to save dogs, it was a collective healing for their spirits as well. Buddy barked, as if echoing the sentiment. Derek took a breath, the weight of his past still present but less suffocating against this newfound tide of support. He caught Mike's eye, and both exchanged a nod, an unspoken promise. They were stepping into the unknown, armed with resilience and community strength. With the laughter and camaraderie enveloping him, Derek felt a surge of motivation. His old life, the haunting memories, the self-doubt, it still lingered, but perhaps he didn't have to fight it alone. They could walk alongside each other, forging ahead with purpose. As the evening transformed into an electrifying synergy, Derek made a vow. He'd embrace this journey, not just for the dogs, but for himself. He'd tackle each challenge as it came, knowing Buddy and this remarkable group were behind him, encouraging him to dig deep and rewrite the narrative of his life. That night, they mapped out plans to take action. They established volunteer days, outreach programs, and began fostering drives within the community. Their hearts sang with purpose and joy. As they wrapped up the evening, Kara promised to write a story that would spotlight their cause, showing not just the challenges, but the triumphs of this unexpected family gathering. Mike placed a hand on Derek's shoulder. "Look what we've started," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Derek's heart felt full, warmth blooming within him, chased away the edges of fear. This was just the beginning, a new chapter where healing thrived, where love overflowed. They would face the world together, one step and one paw at a time. And as he gazed around, watching all the connections forged, Derek realized embracing the unknown could lead to extraordinary transformations. "Let us save some livelihoods," he said, inspired and filled with warmth. Together. The room erupted with cheers, laughter mingling into the night. Their mission had ignited a fire in their hearts, proving that bonds between veterans, pets, and community were indeed life-changing. Now was the time to rise. And if anyone dared to glimpse the transformative power of compassion, they all knew where to find it. Hey, are you feeling this transformation? You need to subscribe now to not miss our next incredible stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like for the algorithm and help us spread the love. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the ending, we want to hear from you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation.